This is episode 15 of Counterpoints, and it's a new generation, it's a new era of Counterpoints, because in the past, when I did this show, Moses, it was actually, the whole reason I created this one was actually, originally I created it when I was at On Gamers, because I wanted to have like it was going to be like the summoning insight of CSGO, since there hadn't really been a talk show for a long time in CSGO. Like, I did that original podcast that was like me, Lurpus, and Khan, but first of all, Khan arranged everything for that, and then I would have kept doing that forever. Like, I thought it was a really cool concept, but unfortunately, it was both of them just never had the time, like they had this mad schedule where even if I could get one of them to be available, the other one was never there. So also at the time, for whatever reason, they never thought, like, the obvious move you should do in that scenario is you just do alternating podcasts. If Khan's available one week, you do it, and then you get a different guest, and then if Lepus in it, that would be the obvious way to keep it going. But again, they didn't think to do that. They thought like all three people had to be there at once, and I didn't run it primarily. I was just a guest on it. So again, I wasn't necessarily someone who had a say in all this stuff. So
it's a new era.
So when I went and did Summoning Insight for League of Legends, and that was successful, obviously, at the time I thought, right, well, we need a show like this in CSGO, and it was in 2014, so I thought, right, well, it's like, this is the ideal time, the game's getting bigger, this is the time to do a show. But unfortunately, I left On Gamers after I'd only done a couple of episodes, so never really had the time to make it a proper show. And then since I'd gone solo myself, and at the time CSGO still wasn't huge, I just basically made this more along the lines of like a podcast, in the sense of like whenever I felt like it, basically. Like if there was a specific topic I thought of, and then I could think of, usually, like this is one of the few shows I've ever done, believe it or not, where I had an option to have 3 guests as well as me. Like most shows, I usually just like to have either 2 or two hosts and a guest, because I think I think it's a better format for discussion, because I really hate it when there's 4 people and one person's sat not contributing, or 2 people are arguing over each other, and then a third person's trying to get in. Like, I think it's a really bad format. It's really difficult to juggle that. And so what happened was, long story short, I was like infrequent with how often I did the podcast, because as I said, it was just at my own whim. But then we had the By the Numbers debacle, which is that By the Numbers was obviously quite a popular show. It ran almost every single week. I think we might have only missed something crazy like 3 or 4 weeks when me and Richard were at events and we literally couldn't do it because of the internet. But aside from that, we got a shitload of episodes out. And obviously that was like a good format, because since it was always regular, we always got to the latest week's news. Richard did a really good job of hosting it, actually, and kind of like keeping things going. We didn't rely on many guests. We actually only had a few guests. I think it was only you and James came on, I think, as guests. Those might have been the only guests we ever
James
had on the
was
show.
like the last episode. He was like the special guest.
He was the last episode. So, ironically, by the way, the last time people in North America actually liked GB James, if you remember the Reddit thread for that post, was all people like, oh, he seems like a good guy. Why didn't you just be nice to him? Now, exact same people are just like, fuck him, hang him, and hang, draw, and quarter him. Like, that's how ridiculous Reddit 180 circle jerk shit. So,
it's
basically,
out of control.
So here's what happened, okay, is it was originally planned that what we're talking about right now, we'd just be on By the Numbers right now. Like, I was going to re-up my contract with Alpha Draft. Richard was going off to work with Turner. I'd already talked to you. You'd said you wanted to be involved. We were just going to make it like, so this would just be By the Numbers, but you would just replace Richard, and I would take over as the host because I have the experience with hosting. So that was the original plan. Unfortunately, through no fault of Alpha Draft's, if you've noticed what's happened in fantasy esports, it's gotten a lot smaller now. You don't see it everywhere anymore. And unfortunately, in America, which is the biggest market, there are all these legal problems where state by state, it's kind of been outlawed, so it can't be as big. And as a result, it can't have the same advertising budget. And so my sponsorship with them ended. And so originally, we were sat around like, what are we going to do in this sense? So we don't have a sponsor for right now. That's why there's no sponsoring on the screen. And this was actually a very boring intro, as opposed to a hilarious abstract intro. Because, when I get paid, Moses, then I actually perform. Then I turn up and I'm on. But yeah, I'm mailing this.
That's very North American.
I'm mailing this shit in right now, mate. So with that said, this is going to be the new era. The point I was getting to in a long-winded manner is that we're going to do this as a regular podcast. Again, not necessarily regular in the By the Numbers sense. Like, I don't know if we can do one every week. Let's try. Okay, how about that? We'll try to do that. Okay, let's make that a goal if we can, to find one in that sense. But the aim is to make it regular, and the idea is these will be the 2 hosts on every episode. Every episode will be me and Moses. Now, I think we'll have some episodes where we have guests on, but in general, it will actually mainly be me and you, just as it was with me and Richard, because two people, especially when the two people who are knowledgeable about the game and watch a lot of the stuff, you can get enough just out of two people. It's cool to have the odd guest, but I think it's better if you like develop the synergy between the two people, and then people get a sense of where things are going to go in the podcast with how you discuss a topic. So let's dive into the first topic, okay? And I want to actually make this one of the big topics. I don't want to start with like a shit small topic. So the big topic, okay, Moses, is that OpTic announced its new lineup, and its new lineup was essentially they just removed Stanislaw and they inserted Tarek. Then there was this scenario where it was rumored that maybe for Northern Arena they will actually, I think originally they said they were going to take out Daps, who couldn't attend for some reason, and instead Stanislaw would come back in to stand in for this one event. Then it was said that they would just use the original lineup with no Tarek there, and now the rumour is that Daps is actually going to be cut entirely. Stanislaw's back in the team, and it's just Daps that isn't in the team. Now, first and foremost, you're more in touch with the NA scene than I am. I put on like plastic gloves and a hazmat suit and before I ever go into that shit, right? So
I'm waiting. Who did it?
Now you bear back the NA scene all day long. So the question is, Moses, what is actually the current status of that as far as you know? Like what is the current OpTic lineup and the lineup for Northern Arena?
I mean, the one for Northern Arena, as far as what I've been told, is going to be that old lineup with Daps will be in it, Stanislaw, I think it's everyone but Tarek, actually, I believe. Okay. The crazy part about it is, everything I've heard is that it's true, that Daps is eventually going to be replaced as the in-game leader. That's everything I've heard. I haven't actually spoken to the players on this team, which I probably should do here at this event, because I'm in Toronto for Northern Arena. But, I mean, that's the craziness of this whole thing is like a week after they announced that Stan's leaving, they're bringing it back already. So that's just like some crazy dysfunctional system. And actually, this happened, I believe, with this. Was it this same lineup? Remember, was it 2 years ago? There was a team that was like Naf got cut, and then like a day later they brought him back, and they like changed their mind like the very next day.
Okay, I think I remember that. Was that denial or something?
Yeah, I was gonna say that had to have been some denial lineup, and with Naf was in it with Stanislaw. So I mean, it's just crazy. I think this is just that's scary for this. Like has so many. Like that has been rising up through the ranks in North America for some time now, that they have this kind of like roster upheaval, this kind of confusion about their identity and where they want to take it. So that's pretty worrying, I think, if you're an OpTic fan.
Actually, let me check if I can find that. Is that even there? I don't know where I can find that information, but anyway.
Just put on the hazmat suit.
Okay.
That's going way back into.
So wait a second. Let's start off with this topic so we can broach it. So first and foremost, I mean, if you notice, actually, in my videos, like, by the way, just as a general note for people, I'm not going to do a video on every NA roster move. Like, actually, what I really wish I'd done if I'd have had advanced knowledge of all the roster moves is I would have just done like an NA shuffle video for all of it, because like, for example, Automatic to C9 to me is not actually worthy of a video. Like, Tarek to OpTic is, because Tarek's a big name player who's done a lot. OpTic's actually on the rise, etc. Automatic to C9, because I personally don't know that much about Automatic. I didn't watch that much when he was in Neelam, for example. I don't really have that much to say about it, so I'm not going to do an entire video on it. So if you've noticed, though, I've got a trend now on my roster move videos, which I think is a really good formula, because I always try with videos that I do a lot of a similar style to develop a formula. And so the formula I've developed is when you talk about a roster move, you have to break it down into 3 parts. What you do is, or potentially 4, first of all, you have to ask, is the person they're removing the person who should be removed? That's like a good question. Then you ask, should they add this player? Then you ask what will happen to the team now that they've added that player, and then if we know the player went to another team, you ask what will happen to that one. So it's a way to sort of break it down, because sometimes you can have a player that's terrible as removed, but is replaced by the wrong player, obviously, like a shitter player, or it's going to be a downgrade. So in that scenario, it's not as simple as were they right, were they wrong. So first and foremost, my question to you would be, the original move was to replace Stanislaw, okay? It was to remove Stanislaw. They picked him out of the 5 for whatever reason. Now, I heard someone make a good point on Reddit that I hadn't thought of myself, which is that obviously Naf and Daps have a much longer history, because it goes back into Denial, which became the first team Liquid, where they were members together, and they've obviously played together a long time. So it's not as simple. In my video, I'm viewing it as if I was like a GM who has no personal attachment and just looks at the players' Naf and looks at the player Stanislaw and picks which of them I want to remove. Because obviously, in this world, Daps is the in-game leader, Mixwell's the star player. I mean, the obvious players you're picking between is Naf and Stanislaw. Was Stanislaw the right player at that time? Would he be the player you would have picked to remove if you have to remove a person to bring in Tarek?
No, I was actually a big fan of Stanislaw. I have been for some time. I like his style of play. He's one of those players I think that does the dirty work. Like he does those fundamental style of play. He's kind of that guy who anchors things. He's not always going to be trying to make the play, but he will help you recover from that situation. Yeah.
Say the word.
I don't want to say that. You don't do that to me. But yeah, I like his style of play, and I thought he's critical. Those kind of players are really important, are really crucial for successful teams. And by the way, I also think that same style of play is what OpTic is bringing to Cloud9, and they're having a lot of success with it, is having that kind of a style brought in. But no, I wouldn't have removed Stan. I think part of the issue, because you remember around the same time they made another roster change. They brought in Devilwalk as a coach, right? And I think this is a little bit of the confusion of how they're going to handle the entire coaching change of how coaches are allowed to be used now. Because I think on some level, I think they had to have said, we'll remove Stanislaw, we have the coach, and then they brought him back, and now they don't know what they want to do because they don't have a coach that can in-game lead. So it's almost like they're considering whether they need to keep Daps or not, or can Stanislaw be the in-game leader. I think someone was talking about how at one point he was the in-game leader. I don't think it was for any serious stretch of time, but I'm sure the big question with all the North American lineups and everything is it does come down to sometimes those personal issues. I think to a certain degree you have to imagine that Stan, because I don't think it's his performance why he was removed. I think it had to be some kind of personal issue within the team.
Okay. So, I mean, in that sense, actually, I would tie the NA scene with the French scene. If you notice in my videos about the French scene, I always reference that it's more about who likes who and the politics rather than necessarily who the better player. Because I see this is the same move. Like, bearing in mind, as I've described it there, okay, you can't remove Mixwell. He's off the table anyway. He's the best player. That's obvious. In theory, Daps is your in-game leader. So that puts him off the table. So, I mean, at that point in time, we're only left with Rush, who's the entry frag and seems to be doing a pretty good job there, Nafly or Stanislaw. You've got to remove one of these three. Now, Rush has been in with a bunch of the others for a while. He's been in the team for a long time. In theory, I can understand politically why they removed Stanislaw, but I'm kind of of the same mind of you. Like, personally, I thought Stanislaw was one of the better players in that team. And bearing in mind, NA teams really struggle for consistency. I think part of the reason why is because, I mean, I brought this up before. I see so few support players in NA. I see so few players who will play that role. Every player out there is some, like, Naf, fucking Desi, Roka type guy who just wants to, like, shoot your head off. And that's how he thinks he's going to win the game by shooting 5 people in the head. Whereas, obviously, we know, like, yeah, you need players who can do that. You've got them mix well. You don't need everyone to be able to do that. You need some people to balance out the other aspects. So to me, I saw Stanislaw and Daps to some degree as some of the few players in the team who are willing to do it, who know it's necessary, okay? And so that's one of my problems is, like, if I had to pick, I'd probably go with the other way, and I'd go with Naf instead. Because the problem I have with Naf is, I think he's like one of the most players who's one of the most inconsistent players. But also,
yeah, he's very up and down.
Inconsistent in the sense, a bad way, that I also have very rarely seen him have the good performances against like European teams. That's another issue I have there, you know. So it's not like it's inconsistent, like, oh, well, one day he'll win the game for you. Well, no, he'll just never win the game if it's against European teams. So that's my issue with that. Okay, so here's the question then. Why, logically, if they get to a point where they think, right, well, Stanislaw's the odd man out, we're removing him, why do you think they then go to the potential rumoured move you're talking about, where now they change their mind, Stanislaw comes back, and now it's Daps they're removing? Can you speculate? What would you think the reasoning would be?
Oh, see, that's the crazy thing, because if you go with the personal issue, which is why it seems like Stanislaw was removed to me, there's really not a reason for them to go back on that. I would have to imagine it comes down to something with, you know, Daps is probably, I mean, his value to this team is the in-game leader, right? So he would be the player who hasn't done great individually, doesn't have like this wealth of talent, this wealth of skill. So, I mean, he would be the next logical one if they're just purely looking at numbers and they say this guy is underperforming. But he is the in-game leader, so that would actually point to the fact that they have to have faith in someone else on this team to in-game lead. You know, it's not going to be Rush, it's not going to be Tarek, it's not going to be Mixwell. So it would have to be Stanislaw, it would have to be Naf. I mean, it would have to be one of those two. So you imagine it would be Stanislaw, the guy who's a little bit more passive in his play style, who can, you know, has some time in his game plan to actually think about the team structure. That's a really interesting. That's why I don't understand how this happens within like a week of each other. That's what's so confusing to me, because that would just mean that there's some complete 180 on the thought process from the original roster change.
Do you want to hear my speculation? So I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think, knowing NA players, what could happen. Okay, so here's my theory. Okay, by the way, this could be totally wrong. It's not founded on anything. I have no inside information. But here's my basic layman's theory as to what could make you want AE. Now, first of all, there is obviously the factor of like maybe the public backlash, or maybe the public didn't like it, or some people thought, well, like for example, an obvious one would be people were like, well, why have you removed Stanislaw when Daps is shit or whatever? Right? That would be like the public backlash, you know. But here's my working speculation. Okay, they played some scrims when they kicked Stanislaw off, got ultra stopped and shit on, maybe even by like a really bad team, and then it was that like instant buyer's remorse of like, fuck, we should, why did we kick Stanislaw, like we should, you know what, fuck it, Gav Daps come off the team, like you can lead Stanislaw, like that sort of thing. And then, or by the way, it doesn't even have to be the whole team thinking that. Like one player, they have a result and scrims, and then one player reaches out to Stanislaw. He's like, "Could you be the in-game leader if we brought you back? Like, you know, I know we had issues, but you know, with Tarek as well, we're probably going to be better." Like, just speculation, but that's how I see like a potential for. Because otherwise, it doesn't make sense how you can just 180 if it was like a business move. You know, like, well, this guy doesn't work with the team, and you know, we think like this player will be better. That's the way it doesn't make sense. It has to be political in some sense.
Well, and also you think of all the moving parts they've had. Tarek coming in, Stanislaw going out, Double Walk coming in and then going out. They have like how do you narrow it down as well within the week of playing some of these practice games, some of these matches, and you narrow it down to like this was the issue. When you've had so many roster changes and you haven't had time to adjust or like work on anything with those roster changes, that's what's so crazy is that since it happens in such a short span of time, I just have to think I don't know what they could have discovered about their team that would have been like, oh well, fuck, now we need Stanislaw back. I mean, they just have so much shit going on in that team. It just seems very disorganized at the moment, which is a shame because I mean, I think they were I had them as like the 5th best team in North America. I think 6th best team.
How fucking dare you?
Oh yeah,
how fucking dare you? That ranking made no sense whatsoever, mate.
How so?
Well, first of all, Team Liquid never played a game with their lineup. C9, brand new lineup as well. None
of the teams played. What do you want me to do? Not do a ranking?
No, OpTic had a real lineup at the time. They had an actual fucking lineup, unlike every other team, and theirs was the best on LAN, except for TSM, who changed players. So logically, OpTic number 1. As all the Call of Duty fans tell me, OpTic number 1, no matter what, Moses, no matter what. So
green wall,
exactly. So here's the thing, okay? I'm going to make a statement right now that might shock you, Moses. So strap the fuck in, because we're going to get a crash. This is going to be a bumpy landing, okay? Because my plan is to crash this plane with no survivors. Like, are you ready? So here's a statement. Are you ready for this, Moses? This is some nuts shit. Are you ready? I think Daps is a good in-game leader.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I've said this every time. I always give him the backhanded compliment, okay? He is a shit individual player. I've seen this guy have some of the worst individual games I've seen of almost anyone at that level of pro level, okay? I've seen, we're talking like 40 ADR games, like no impact, missing very easy kills, like can't hold a position. But NA is absolutely hamstrung for like real in-game leaders who watch the demos, figure out the strats, try and call them properly. Also, the ones that are like reasonable about what their team can do and don't have like ridiculous notions of like, well, we're doing really well on Mirage, so let's just like pick that into SK game. That sort of like stupid shit of like, we've got to be confident that Daps is actually a very reasonable person in that sense. And I think that's one of his best qualities, combined with the hard work, the hustle aspects of being an in-game leader. Like, you do the demos watching, you try and call the real strats. And then also, the reason why in the past this team hasn't had mad drama, I state mad drama, they are an A team, they did have the Shazam thing, etc. People not waking up and all that shit. But in general, they haven't had the mad drama. They have kept the core together, and the core has been pretty decent. It's never been amazing. Even when I said they were the best NA team, I did say they were like a placeholder best NA team. They weren't like a legit good team. They were just okay, and they had a core basis. Like, they had a couple of maps they were good on. So I think some of that comes from Stanislaw, Daps. These are the core members to me. Yeah, you then add in like Rush as can be part of that core, and then now you've got Mixwell. Okay, he wasn't part of the team before. Shazam was his star player before. They're kind of the wild card, like the star player guy who does what he wants. But I saw the core as those 3 players. So to me, here's the thing. I'll give an out that maybe Stanislaw can be an in-game leader, maybe he can be good, but that's a massive question mark for me right now. So I see this as a big problem, because I know they've got better from adding Tarek from skill. I think Stanislaw's a much better player than Daps, but I think this could actually, unfortunately, cut away at the core of what makes OpTic OpTic. That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I don't think that's as much of a plane crash as you thought I was going to take it with the Daps being a good in-game leader. He was someone that I didn't think was a good in-game leader, and he actually grew on me over time. And it's one of those things where he is very aware, I think, of his capabilities and his team's capabilities. Like you said, he's never going to be some like crazy tactician. He's never going to have like the insane like mid-round calls that are going to completely fool the team like on a consistent basis. He's going to have probably some. You have to be able to have some good calls, every once in a while, but. I mean, he does. The team doesn't do anything like stunning in terms of tactics. It's just kind of like the standard stuff. But it's fine. I mean, as long as he's that in-game leader, I think he's doing a good job with what he's given and with the tools he has to use. I think it would be interesting with his level of in-game leading if he could actually make the new. I mean, this might just be crazy, but if he could actually make the new coaching rules where you can't actually speak during the rounds, like since he doesn't have that strength of the mid-round calling, he is one of those coaches who I think this new rule, he could function with it. I mean, he could just sit there, he could run all the practices, he could lay out the groundwork of how they're going to play certain maps, and let them do their thing and just kind of drill it into him during practice.
He's also enough of a beater. He would come back even though they've just kicked his ass in the most epic fucking Caesar style, stabbed in the back manner, like fuck. So that's going to be said as well. So it is on the table, Moses. So no, the reason why I said it might be a plane crash style thing isn't. It's not that I didn't think you would be on paper on board with it, but I think people listening to the podcast will be shocked by that. Like, think about it. They think I just bag on every NA player and say they're all shit. And if I bag on Adren, well, how can I think Daps is good? Here's the difference. Here's the key difference between Adren and Daps. Are you ready? Adren doesn't know he's bad at CS. He thinks he's a good player. So as a result, that cognitive dissonance and delusion, unfortunately, makes him even less effective in the game. And unfortunately, as an in-game leader, I thought always made him fairly poor. What people don't know, I don't know how they haven't picked up on this, Moses. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop this bomb right now, because it should be fucking obvious. Think about it. Over all the years that I'm saying Adren isn't a good in-game leader, doesn't have really good strats, isn't good at calling, all the rest of it, doesn't adapt well, the whole time people are like, well, how can you know that? I actually think he's really good at that. Do I have any friends who were in Team Liquid who I have been talking to for 1.5 years and asking stuff and then checking stuff at every event with the other players? It's not like it all just came out of thin air, is it?
Right,
and so when people publicly say Adren was a good in-game leader, that's different to what they say privately. And that's different to what people within the team thought of his leading style. And so the reason why I draw the contrast between the two players is because that's where Daps first got fucked over. He was the in-game leader at Team Liquid, remember? Then they brought in, well, I mean, it's technically a denial. They had Adren for denial, and then they literally right after became Team Liquid. So if you remember, then they kicked Daps out. Adren became the in-game leader. Now, I think he presented it like he was forced to become the in-game leader. But again, you're forced because you kicked the one guy who's the in-game leader, mate. Like, I don't know how that fucking logic works. Like, what's that, like some Russian mafia shit? Like, oh, well, now I'm forced to run this small post office after I kill and fucking hang on meat hook old owner. I am not post office owner. Like, yeah, well, you kind of like, you did play a part in the fact you're now forced to run that post office, Igor. So anyway... To bring it back, Moses, bring it back. So we're going to bring it back in. So what I'm saying is, Daps has been stabbed in the back once before. Now he's been stabbed in the back again by a group of these people. Do you think what do you think happens now? Like, do you think this is the right move? Here, just be bold. Do you actually think this is the right move?
Bringing Stan back in for Daps? No.
What would you do instead? What would your move be?
I mean, my move would have never been to kick Stan in the first place. I think I would have taken Nath out in that situation. Just, I mean, we talked about it earlier. I don't know if I would have picked up Tarek as well. I mean, that's the big thing. That's the other big thing. And I think my love-hate relationship with Tarek has been well publicized across the past couple of years with him at CLG. But the reality is they're doing all these changes. This team is in turmoil now, all to bring in Tarek, who hasn't proven that he deserves to have this many changes to put around him just to bring him in.
Wait a minute. So my way, was I just thought it should have been Nath instead of Stanislav. Okay. But you actually think they just shouldn't have changed the lineup at all?
I don't know if I would have changed it for Tarek, personally.
Okay.
I don't know if I would have done that.
Okay, why not? Why isn't Tarek a good enough player that he's an upgrade and worth the risk?
It's not. I mean, he. I mean, this is the thing. It's how it always been. He has the talent. He has the skill. but he hasn't shown any like desire to build on his game. Like, he hasn't shown any desire to develop some of the other necessary skills. And this is, I think, part of it is, with his skill set, he should be a little bit more of a star player, but he's just not. He's not a star player, and I think it's time that teams and people recognize that. Unless he's going to put the work in, unless he's going to improve on a massive level that we didn't see for 2 years in CLG, he had every chance available to him. Then he's just not going to be a star player. And I think if you look, they take out Stan, who is a critical piece, to bring him in. Now they go back and they want to take out the in-game leader, Daps, because of this roster change, but they want to keep that critical piece of Stan in, so they're trying to fiddle with another critical piece, which is the in-game leader. I'm not sure this is all worth Tarek coming in. I mean, even if you look at Tarek's stats, like for his last matches, whatever it might have been, LAN matches, it's just like, this just isn't a star player. It's actually pretty incredible.
It's star player in the context of NA?
Yeah, I'd be fine with saying that. I don't think he's a star player, even in the region.
Okay, that's bold.
I think part of the issue is because he's a big brand, right? And he has a big name, and he's been a big streamer, and he's been very popular and loved by fans, by spectators, whatever it might be. And I think that's like raised his profile. We've been saying for 2 years he should be a star player. I mean, he's better in NA, obviously, but I don't think he's blowing anyone away, especially not right now. I mean, he has been sitting out for some time after E-League with CLG, and he's had a rough start coming back. But I don't see anything out of him that, like, this team, if this team's going to improve, Rush is going to be the star player on this team. That's the one who's going to take a bigger leap.
You mean joining Mixwell, obviously?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Mixwell's, I just keep him up there. We don't need to mention him as a star player, but Rush is the one I think has to take the leap. I think Tarek can be a good player. I don't think he's going to be the star.
See, here's the thing. I have been a critic of Tarek's for a long time in the international context. Like, I look at his whole career with CLG, and I always thought he was the one who, like, I always felt like when he got against NA players, that's where he, like, padded his numbers, and he looked good, and his stats looked good, etc., especially online, obviously, even though people are now going to be like, oh, but the last season, they won, like, 2 games. Yeah, we're talking about 2 years, you moron. So, just addressing random members of the crowd that actually weren't even talking about. So that's going to happen. That's going to happen in the show. Let's get ready for that. But the point is, what I was always critical of is if I ever saw them go to a major and I ever saw them play against European teams, that's where he always let me down. Now, with that said, earlier this year when they had that little run where they made top 8 of the major and they had, they made the playoffs in. Did they actually?
I don't think they made it.
No, they lost in the last game against.
Played well individually.
Against Godsent, that's right, yeah.
Yep.
And he did, here's the thing, at that point he was looking like he was on the brink of becoming a proper international player, who, like an NA player who's like transitioning from NA star to international star player. He looked like he was at that Now, with that said, since then, yeah, he's been shit. But I will give him some credit there. For most people, okay, if you get like a much better job offered to you, and you get a much better set of circumstances offered to you, and you get a much better future offered to you, and everything is agreed, so the new job wants you, all the people who are going to help you out in the future agree that they're going to help you out, you're going to finally have a chance to do the things you want to do. If you have that taken away from you last second, so what I'm referring to here is he had offers from Cloud9, from Team Liquid, and he has to see Team Liquid go and make all these finishes at majors. And he has to see Cloud9, well, at least in the past, be a very good team and become one of the better NA teams now. And he has to see all that while CLG is falling apart piece by piece. And then the ultimate indignity is that the one player who is a star player in his team, JDM, does get to leave. Now, yeah, there is other circumstances there where the difference is JDM was bought out for like a massive amount of money, which might not have been willing to happen in Tarek's case, but in that scenario, I can understand just in terms of like human compassion why you get demoralized by that. Now, sure, you can go with that whole angle of like have you noticed how every single 15-year-old on Reddit, Moses, is like Michael Jordan, basically? Like in their lives, they're the most like hardcore, dedicated person who will never give up and will never be beaten mentally, and they just keep going, and they're just a winner deep down. Never accomplished anything in their lives, of course, aside from signing up to a Reddit account. But they all talk like they are like fucking Maximus out of Gladiator, and they would just come back and have their revenge, and all that sort of shit. But Most people wouldn't actually. Most people would get crushed by that. Most people would lose hope. I mean, people like, do you think it's a coincidence that as Nip went on with Alu got progressively worse? No, because he realised eventually, I'm always going to be the one who gets blamed because I'm not part of the original four. As the team doesn't win, the rest of them are all going to fall back into their old habits of where they're like, oh, well, this is what happens. We had our little spike. No, what happens is people get demoralised. There's very few people are so driven they can sort of overcome all obstacles and really turn everything to a positive perspective. So I agree, Tarek shouldn't have given up. That is stupid, and also it hurt his market value. But I think at his best, you can't judge him by the last few months. That's my point, basically. I think he's a better player than he was the last few months. But I do agree with you, he's not some superstar. But with that said, how many players are there available if you're OpTic right now that you can get? Put it this way, he's better than Automatic and some of these players that have been going to TSM over the last year. I think he's better than those players. So I still think it's a high-profile signing.
Yeah, if you look at just individual skill, maybe he's better than Automatic, probably better than Automatic. But I mean, just for that role in Cloud9, Automatic's the better fit for it. I just think, that's the one thing is Tarek. I want to like Tarek as a star player, and I was so excited around MLG and around Malmo when he was having that good stretch of that month and a half where he was playing very, very well internationally on top of everything. It's just not consistent. I think that CLG thing after E-League when he just kind of bowed out, I think that is kind of what people don't understand is that kind of motivation, it comes and goes in waves. And I think even like the pro European teams have always talked about it where they've been we haven't been very motivated this past month, or we've been playing really poorly. Time to actually get back to the grindstone, which is also a ridiculous notion. But I mean, your dedication, even as an individual, goes up and downs and everything. So, I mean, there's always times where you sit back and you have to kind of recharge the batteries and you come back harder right afterwards. So I think that's more of what Tarek did. I was just surprised to see him. So the big thing with Tarek was I'd heard around the same time that he had this OpTic offer that he had an offer from Echo Fox as well. I was told that he had a deadline, both offers at the same time. He was picking that weekend of which team he was going to join. So he could have been on Echo Fox as well, from what I've been told, from what I know. I think I would have liked to see that more. I would have loved to see that.
Well, here's the thing. Echo Fox need the firepower. That's the thing, though. Yeah. That's also where I actually see the OpTic move. Here's the thing. On one level, I think OpTic did need some firepower. My problem is they've now got all the firepower. That's the part that doesn't make the sense to me. By removing Daps, they've now in a scenario where Mixwell's the star player. Tarek, in theory, if he lives up to his prime, I've always said Tarek should be a really good second star. That's where he should be. That leaves Rosh can be the third. Now, what's the point in Naf? What, to be the fourth best aimer on your team? What's the point in his role? Naf is one of the most overrated players in NA, I think, because somehow he stays in all these top teams. He keeps getting into these top teams. But the part I don't get about this guy is, almost every highlight I ever saw from him was with the AWP, right? But he's not a primary AWPer. He's like a hybrid player. Not only that, he's not even some super sick AWPer. He's a fucking FPL AWPer. If you think of him AWPing, it's versus NA teams, or it's online, or it's in FPL. He's not a player who's on LAN going to buy it and be super good. Also, now he's on a team that has Mixwell. If I have an AWP, it's going to Mixwell. It's never going into your hands now. Well, so what is the point in NAF at this point?
Yeah, he still uses the AWP. He has select maps and select sides of maps that he'll use the AWP, which I think that experiment has been done a million times, and I don't think it's ever worked out to any great effect. They have a lot of firepower now, but when we talked about Naf, when we mentioned he is inconsistent. He's going to have some bad games, and then he's going to just single-handedly win you some games in North America against the Europeans. He's not going to win you the game. But I mean, that inconsistency, what they've done is they've just brought more inconsistent. Tarek, that's been his biggest criticism for the past year and a half is his inconsistency, his up and down nature of having a good game than a bad game. So they've added firepower, but they've added inconsistency as well. So it's just less that this team can rely on to build on. And I think that's kind of what the next step for some of these players has to be is maybe don't get 30 kills, get fucking 18, 19, 20, 21 consistently every game in, game out, get your 20 kills. And then you can actually build tactics on that because you can rely on that player getting those 20 kills night in and night out.
That's also another area that NA players to this day still do not understand it. It's there's a big difference between an Olafmeister 21 kills and a NAF 21 kills. And that's not just in the nature of what the action will look like, but as in if you think of Prime Fnatic when they had Pronax, the Olafmeister 21 kills means that Olafmeister probably did his job. He probably went to similar spots, created certain openings, or held a certain spot, and you could probably, if you've watched enough of his games, before I even showed you the demo, you could probably guess where 70% of the kills took place and what kind of kill they were. And that's why you can build a team around him, and why you have a system, and why you win these maps routinely. If I show you the NAF 21 kills, those could be anywhere on the map. They could be any type of kill. They could be with any weapon. As a result, they don't actually help you very much. Even if they have impact in that round and that one map, they don't really have impact long term to improving our team and like establishing us as a real team where now when someone else improves their game, we're going somewhere together. It's just a blip on the radar, you know. It doesn't really mean much.
Yeah. And I mean, not to just continue to beat up on that, because I think that's the case with a lot of North American players. I mean, and that's the thing, you just can't build anything around that. You can't plan anything, any kind of response from a secondary teammate to follow it up on another area of the map. So, yeah, that's just one of the areas we'd like to see them improve. That's an area that I think Cloud9 is actually starting to get very good at.
Also, will it not fuck with people in OpTic that Taric looks exactly like Mixwell? Like, I actually have a plot for a movie, Moses.
Just get straight up confused.
Okay, you ready? So you know, Face It Pro League? I want to start Face Off Pro League. And what happens is, right, in this story, Moses, right, because Taric is a big name streamer and he has all this fame, but Mixwell actually has the skills to be what Taric thinks he is, like a sick LAN AWPer versus Europeans. Mixwell comes up with a plan to combine fame and skill, which is that, like the movie Face Off, where Nicolas Cage, who plays Castor Troy, goes to get that cop who John Travolta plays, and he takes his face so that he can escape prison and he can go inside the police force and you can't wreck him, right? So what happens is Mixwell drugs Taric. I mean, I can't imagine what sort of drug you'd need to slip Taric to make him go into a No, just an in-joke there. So he basically, we'll make it safe. We'll make it PG-13 for the American audience here, Moses. He just gets Taric crunk, like that gif of where he was in that party going ham. He gets him crunk. Then in the morning, Taric, comes to, he's in a chair, and then Mixwell is like speaking in Spanish, obviously. That's Spanish. He's speaking in Spanish, and the subtitles just say to the doctor, like, prepare the anesthetic, like, we will proceed to take his face off. He does that motion that you did there, like the long nose motion. So what happens is, this is the next stage of the plot. Mixwell gets Taric's face, okay? And now he thinks, I'm going to be famous, because I'm going to have Taric's face, so I can be a streamer, but I can also be the sick player. Obviously, he goes home, though, and he starts streaming, and everyone goes, hey, what's up, Mixwell? And he goes, what do you mean? And he goes, well, it's you, right, Mixwell? And so, how you doing? What are you doing on Taric's stream, Mixwell? And then he goes, well, I'm Taric.
Just trapped in his own nightmare.
Yeah. And they go, no, you're Mixwell. Like, you look almost the same as Taric, but you're obviously still just Taric, aren't you? Even though your face looks pretty similar. And he goes, shit, yeah, I didn't think of that. So here's what happens then. The next plan he has is he thinks, right, well, another player who's really famous as a streamer, who doesn't have mad skills with European, is Shroud. And I also look exactly like Shroud.
Bloody hell.
So here's what happens, okay? Here's the denouement of the movie. Here's the twist for you, Moses. He goes to perform the same operation on Shroud to steal his face, right? This is where it goes to the next level. But here's the trick. When the operation's complete and he comes to and he goes to look in the mirror, he has his original face on. Because actually, since Taric also looks like Shroud, Taric performed a face operation on Shroud, then let himself have a face operation performed on him by Mixwell, therefore getting back his own face. And that gives the Shroud face to hit. Yeah, how does that work? I don't know. But at the end, they all look the same. Basically,
that's absolutely insane.
That's all. It's not even. It doesn't even really mean anything. It was just a waste of everyone's time. But it was.
I thought you were going to go like the Lindsay Lohan Parent Trap type thing.
Okay, what's going to happen?
You just swap them places, like you said. You send Mixwell to like what the New York with the Turkish New York family to go live for a week. He goes back. I don't really have an in-depth plot like you did. I'd have to give that some thought.
Yeah, do that then. Don't waste our time, motherfucker. Like, back to Counter-Strike. So anyway, back to Counter-Strike. So here's my question going forwards. In your past ranking, which we have discussed already, you had them ranked like 5th best NA team. What is the ceiling? How high could they get this new OpTic lineup if the proposed one happens, where they kick Daps, that is? Relative to
I
NA,
mean,
how high?
Okay, so let's do the caveat where with these NA rankings, I have teams that are competing in North America. So I obviously have Immortals and I have
SK.
SK in there.
Yeah.
I think this new Immortals is looking a little bit vulnerable right now. I think they could realistically, and you got to imagine Cloud9 obviously is going to climb, and Liquid. The big issue is SK, Liquid, and Cloud9. I think are on a whole different level than a team like OpTic. So I think they could probably get towards 4, but I don't realistically anytime see them soon overcoming like Liquid in 3rd place, whatever it might be.
Okay. And what is
which would
the
be
what
which
if,
would
what
be
if,
3rd overall of North American teams.
what if we go the other way though? Is there a darker future where they get worse than OpTic is now?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, they very well could. I think once you get down towards, once you get down past like OpTic and TSM, who I had 5 and 6, I think they're one bad event away from dropping. I don't think they're the thing that scares me about OpTic is I don't know. I don't think they have like a home map. I don't think they have like a map they can go in and just say we're very extremely confident that like realistically that we can beat most North American teams on this map. So I don't think while they're good and while they've had more success against European teams and they've had success against North American teams, I don't think their situation, that core is very set in terms of being like the 5th best team or top 3 team in North America. They can very easily slip and fall, as can TSM, who's 6th,
Okay.
as can any of those teams at the bottom.
Because the thing is, if they don't,
outside of Cloud9, yeah. Go on.
if they don't make the Daps kick, I actually thought that it had a chance to get better. Like I thought Tarek would be like all right as like the second entry. I think that's not a bad role. I thought they had a chance to get better and they could contend for like 2nd or 3rd best in NA because I'm not as sold on C9. But the problem is if they do the Daps kick and they bring Stanislaw back in, I think that actually makes them a long term a worse team. That's like a phase type approach there to me, where you just got a bunch of skilled players, but there's no cohesion, and most importantly, there's not very many actual like support role players basically to facilitate the stars. So actually what I think happens there is you try to add, well, imagine if you had Mixwell plus Tarek plus Naf plus, and it's like, no, mate, it'll be the opposite. It'll be like minus some of that because there'll be less than they each would be if they were the star player of another team, which is what you're thinking of when you try to do the math in your head. So unfortunately, I think if they make the Daps kick, which again isn't confirmed, I think that actually ends up being worse. Now, with that said, let's go to the next topic immediately, which you've already kind of alluded to, which is Cloud9. So first things first, you're super hyped on them adding automatic. What does adding automatic to this team do?
I think the big thing is it provides a piece that they can rely on. I think unlike someone like Nothing who's always trying to make a play. I think Automatic's that guy who is very willing to just kind of chill and play his role and be effective in that role, and that's the big thing. I think it's a player who's not trying to do too much. I think also what it helps is, the big part of him joining this team is, and this is like the trend of North American, is your personal relationships, which is fine. He has a really good relationship with Stewie, who has emerged as the star of that team. So I think him being there is comforting to Stewie. I think they play very well together. I just think, I don't even know if Automatic was the reason that they've hit this new level, at least online, to the start of EPL for North America. I think more so than anything, the biggest change I see is this identity change in Cloud9, where we're no longer talking about Shroud and Nothing. It's not all on their shoulders. We're not saying, yeah, they can win if Nothing gets his 25 kills. Yeah, they can win if Shroud shows up. It's now all about Stewie, and he hasn't really let them down to any massive capacity quite yet. And I think him being the face of this team, he's the one starting things out. He's in-game leading, and he's doing a lot of entry power. I think that's what's kind of started to unlock Shroud and Nothing a little bit. So I think it's mostly Stewie, and then Automatic can just chill and play in his own role. He doesn't have to try and do too much.
And who is the in-game leader now then?
That's the thing. From what I've talked to them about, it is primarily Stewie and Nothing. They kind of like they do that whole shared duty thing, which I know you love. Okay. They don't have like that traditional in-game leader. I'm assuming that Stewie does most of the early round calls, and it's kind of whoever sees something across the map in the mid round. But if you look at the other players, Shroud and Skadoodle on that team, even Automatic's a pretty quiet guy. You just know that it's not one of those three. Like Skadoodle's never making a mid round call. I doubt Shroud is, so it's got to be Stewie or Nothing that are making most of the calls in the early and mid game.
Because I actually have my problems with this move as well. I'm not as sold on it as everyone else. Because first of all, just in isolation with this whole Slemmy thing, whether or not this has been said publicly, because I've heard people dispute this, I'm going to say it right now. They removed Slemmy to make him the coach. Now, I've heard people claim that Slemmy says that's not true and that wasn't going to happen. If you look at the timing, to my knowledge, that is what's going to happen. And I have a little bit of insight into some of the players here where I think that's what was going to happen. Now, whether that's absolutely set, I don't know. But to me, it's the obvious move because adding Slemmy, he was like the Daps of their team, except a better version, where he was a terrible in-game player. He was one of the worst in-game players I've ever seen on that level. But in-game leader, yeah, he was doing a really good job. Completely changed the identity of the team, made them an actual team that had a basis and tactics. That's why, to me, once you removed Liquid, who were kind of cheating because they just had simple, it was Cloud9 and OpTic were the best NA teams because they had an actual routine to them. They had maps they could play and they had a system, but they had these boring game leaders.
OpTic was never better than Liquid.
Without simple?
No. You really think so?
Yeah. Liquid was dog shit before they got... You remember, they finished last place at certain terms. Anyway, whatever. And they didn't even go to a bunch of tournaments. So the point is that I think Slemmy couldn't be a good individual player, and unfortunately, the rest of the team wasn't functioning well enough in terms of star players. Like, if Shroud and Skadoodle went ham every game, you could have Slemmy, it's fine. But they weren't. They were very, like, off. Obviously, like, Shroud was terrible at that qualifier for Cologne. Skadoodle basically wasn't doing shit on LAN anymore. He looked like he tapped out. So it was just Stewie2K trying to carry, and then Slemmy just doing in-game tactics. That was about it in the team. So removing him, I didn't agree with. Then bringing in OpTic, I didn't understand either. Because here's the thing. To me, that's a move where it's like, yes, again, you've chosen skill. So we've now got a team that on paper on skill has all skill at all the positions. But OpTic as a player has never impressed me. Like, whenever I've watched him play, he's not a bad player. He has, like, skill. He's an okay... Like, he's a decently skilled player, okay? For a North American pro, yeah, he's probably, like, 10 to 15 in terms of ranking and, like, skill-wise. But he's not a very intelligent player. Like, actually, I think he makes a lot of stupid moves. Like, he makes a lot of bad decisions. And when you combine that with a passive playing style, I have seen this guy lose so many clutch situations, or like so many 2v5, so many, like, you know, that sort of scenario. It feels like he's the player who will never win in that scenario because he just plays so passive and he doesn't seem to have good decision making. So when I combine the two, I think he's a very average player. So I don't get the hype of why you'd put him into the team now. I don't get what you're trying to accomplish, because to me, you now have given up the in-game leading aspect, which is one of the big booms that I thought your team had. It was one of the better qualities of Cloud9. So I don't see them going far here. Like, for example, sure, in NA, who gives a fuck? Maybe they can do well online. Maybe they can do well at NA lands. I think they're going to be less dangerous against European teams. I think they're going to have to just rely on shooting people. At the moment, Shroud hasn't looked good for a while. Skadoodle just kills people online and looks good, but I haven't seen him do much on LAN for a long time now. Yeah. It feels like he tapped out a long time ago. And so it's massively on Stewie2K's back for me still. I don't know what OpTic's going to bring. Like, I don't think he's going to be a great player. I think he's just going to be okay.
Yeah, but I don't think that he has to be better than okay for this team to do well. You know, I don't think that's kind of his purpose.
What is do well though? Like, what is going to happen with this team?
That is the. I mean, with
is this team going to make it out of the groups at a major?
I don't know. That's actually a good question. If you go by the trend of Cloud9, because this is still my big worry with how good they've looked. This team is like the eternal North American disappointment, where they've been to a couple major events and even majors themselves, in major qualifiers, where they have looked so good going into the major in terms of their online form against North American teams, and then they just get to the actual event and they just, like, it looks like they forget everything that they've been doing online. So I mean, that's why this part of the excitement I have for Northern Arena is to see what they're going to look like here against other North American and some of, like, the tier 2, 3 European teams. I mean, the tough part is, like, it just seems like so cliched where it's like, yeah, they obviously have the skill to get out of the groups with the players they have, like with Shroud, Skadoodle, Stewie, and Nothing. Like, those 4 players alone should be able to get you out of groups at the major. It just all depends on whether they're actually going to get in and execute. I think, because I actually don't think they've taken a big hit strategically from what I've seen online, from how I've seen them outcall a team like Liquid, when I've seen them outmaneuver them on the map, where I've seen them play very well strategically. I don't think they've lost too much in terms of that. It just does come down to, do you really want Stewie to be, attention to be on calling? Because right now he's just beasting it so hard online. I think that's where they would run into the most trouble at a LAN, especially against Europeans, is if some European is just shutting down all these hyper-aggressive plays that Stewie makes. Are they going to have enough to fall back on outside of that? Because they do currently, like, live and breathe by how Stewie plays, and he's just been dominant against North American teams. So, I mean, that's where I think they're going to hit the obstacles.
I've got to see something happen on LAN first. Like I can't buy no online, especially NA teams, mate. All that needs to be said about NA. Okay, here's 3 pieces of information for you. So when Navi was like top 2 in the world, couldn't do shit online. VP, same team that just won E-League, dog shit online all year long. Selfless beat SK Gaming in a best of 3 when they were Luminosity. Selfless qualified for a gang of LANs online, you know. Barely missed out on ESL Pro League. Like, I think last week or something, they dodged out at the thing. Selfless was one of the best NA teams online. Dog shit online. Never did anything online. Never approached that level. So my problem is, it's not just that. Here's the big issue I have with NA online and offline, okay? People try to make it like, oh, you're being too harsh, Darwin. Like, NA online does kind of show you, like, the trend someone's on, and it shows you that, like, you know, that people think, okay, that online is sort of like 80% of offline. No, it's just it's night and day, mate. You can literally be dog shit online and be one of the best teams in the world online. Meanwhile, you can be amazing online and be like at last place at the LAN. That's how night and day it is. It's a totally different environment, especially because, and here's another reason I'll bring up, for NA teams particularly, I see online as a terrible metric to use, because one of the worst things about online play, and I'm going to tie this into your career, so you will be able to appreciate this.
You're going to talk about a loot, aren't you?
No. But the reason why in NA, so he's a player who had this as well, though. So the reason why in the history of North American Counter-Strike, there would always be teams who in online competitions, so at the time it was called CAL instead of ESEA, etc. CAL was the online competition, right? There would be always teams who would do very well and players who would do very well online, and they were good players online. But that part of the reason why on LAN they were never good, because online they abused what I call the AWP gap. And the AWP gap is, in North America, you are never playing on 20 ping. So as a result, you're usually playing on 40 to 70 ping. Now on 40 to 70 ping, it makes AWPing easier, because the guy coming around the corner isn't on low ping, so he doesn't instantly headshot you. You don't necessarily even have to kill him first bullet. You may get 2 or 3 shots at him. So suddenly, everyone is an AWPer. Like everyone is a competent AWPer if they want to be. So it immediately throws most of the results in the bin, because you get double AWP setups that you'd never do on LAN. You get a player that's just going... I mean, this is why I brought the Selfless example. Players with the AWP who are looking super ham, who are never going to do that shit on LAN versus Virtus Pro. And unfortunately, it throws it all off. So to me, basically, the point I'm getting to is, I'm not super hyped about Cloud9 at the moment. I still have to see something happen on LAN. I think in NA especially, people just go... I realise it's because of the drought, aside from Liquid, of like actually like really good offline results that people want to believe. I get that. It's just that they're taking the statement of I want to believe and going to the checkout like, well, I want to cash out now. I've already got a world-class team. It's like, well, no, you got to wait a second. We've got to like run up the till or whatever the metaphor would be in this sense. We're going to actually add it all together, you know, and see what the net result is. Because the big problem I have right now with teams like Cloud9 is the example I'd give you is TSM. So TSM had one good LAN. And remember what they did at that LAN? Like, they won Cobblestone against Astralis. Then they, like, lost Cobblestone to... Was it Fnatic? Fnatic, I think, 16-14. Then they played, like, Cloud9 and beat them in a best of 3, and I think even then they might have lost on Cobblestone, or it was very close. Like, it's not even at the one LAN that they had that as though like it was some dominant performance, it was some super good fun. They had one LAN that they were pretty good on, and then they were kind of semi-shitty in E-League, where they had okay rounds, but they never won any games except one. So adding all that together, they didn't really show me like, wow, these are the future of NA. You know what? You got to really give them a lot of credit. They're going to go so far. No, they had one result, and I want to see what happened next. Never got to see what happened next. They've already made the roster move. So with C9, they haven't even had the LAN result yet. I don't know why everyone's getting hyped at the moment. Sure, wait for it to happen, but I don't know what the hype's based around.
I mean, one, I think obviously the brand of Cloud9 is going to help, just the fans that come out of that. But also, I think a lot of it is based off of the success that the individual players have had, and even, you know, that core of Nothing, Shroud, and Skadoodle have had on LAN within Cloud9 in the past. I mean, everyone sees what they can do, and they think it's going to be that direct correlation. For me, I'm not like super hyped to see them to the point where I think they're going to be like some dominant team. They're going to be like the next, like the best North American team by the next LAN. I'm just excited to see how they do at this event. I'm just excited to actually see them play on LAN. And that's kind of the big thing, because the online results, like you said, most people tend to think that there's some kind of like good indication of what form they're at. That only really works if LAN results to back up the fact that they are able to compete at tournaments on LAN. And then you can kind of look at the online results and say, okay, they're in a good form right now. They're in an okay form, or they're in a weak form. But they have to have that LAN backup. So it's cool that we're getting this LAN right now, especially because every team in North America has had a roster change. I don't know if there's a single roster. I think there's only one roster from last season of Pro League that is the same, and that's SK. And even they're using Showtime.
So, okay, here's the problem that Cloud9 really has. Again, it's like how we broke down the OpTic scenario. It's the politics doesn't allow you to do what a general manager's job is. A general manager of a team, okay, it's true, I will add in this caveat. In certain scenarios where you have a star player who's good but not quite good enough, you sometimes keep them around to get people in the stadium, all this sort of shit. That can sometimes get in the way of your sporting results. But in theory, a general manager in sports is supposed to look, what does the team need? What do we not have at the moment enough? Where's like a position that we're not quite strong enough at? What can we trade for this? What can we do to get that? And basically his job is to try and make the overall end result of the equation work, okay, where the end result is success. And so what part do I need to replace here? What do I need to increase? What do I need to decrease? Like, for example, if you have like 5 good basketball players who are all super sick rebounders, but you're not scoring enough points, obviously you might have to give up a good rebounder who's a good player in his own right to get a player who can score instead off the bench, or a 3-point shooter, whatever it might be. That's the way in sports he's supposed to do it. And he's supposed to do it in kind of like a cold manner. You're not supposed to think, do I like this player? You're supposed to think, what's the history of this franchise and where do we want to go in terms of our identity? For me, Cloud9 is a team that historically has refused to do that and continues to refuse to do that. So if I look at their lineup and I try and use the same logic, right? Shroud, huge brand, will never remove him just on the off chance he does become really good and he does tick back into the form of ESL Pro League Season 1 finals where he went ham against Fnatic. So I'll never remove him from that reason. Nothing is literally somehow untouchable. I don't know to this day how it is. He can never, because he's not even that huge a brand. He's not like some huge streaming figure. He's not even like, it's not even like he's on every single like fucking poster in esports anymore. He's not even that big a brand as he was in 1.6, but still considered untouchable, can never be considered to be removed, heart of the team, all that sort of shit. I mean, I guess at this point in time, you've doubled down on him so many times. What's the point in removing him now if you've already let fucking Hiko go and Swag go and fucking Sean Gares go? So if you, at that point in time, I guess you're all in. But Skadoodle, again, you're hoping he turns it around. Still super good name, etc. Even if his performances haven't been good for a long time. Stewie2K is the best player on your team right now, so you can't replace him. So Slemmy is the only one you can replace. I get that logic. My problem is you didn't get the part you needed, because ideally you still need an in-game leader, right? Still need a good in-game leader. You haven't got a high-profile signing. You haven't got one of them to get, so you could replace nothing with a high-profile signing if you get one. Haven't got that. You can't get a JDM type player because you keep in hold of Skadoodle. What's the point in kicking out Shroud to bring in Tariq? It's like the same shit.
I'm actually okay with their in-game leading situation right now. At least to the extent that I want to see how it performs against competition on LAN. Because I've talked to Stewie over throughout this year as he's improved within Cloud9, and he is that guy who is I mean, he grinds FPL obviously for individual, but he's also watching demos. He's also studying the game so he can learning how to actually play the game, not just how to aim.
Yeah, and you know what? Nothing studied a lot of demos too when he was in-game leader, mate. How'd that work out?
Stop. We all know that actually. Did he ever actually say that or something? Are you pulling that out of somewhere?
Of course they all said they did the work. Oh, I'm really doing my hardest to learn how to do this. Oh, all right, well, as a fish, I'm really trying to learn how to ride this bike. Great, well, good luck at it, mate. Keep reading books on it. Fucking hell.
But, I mean, like I said, we have seen the start of EPL. It hasn't just been Cloud9 running over teams skill-wise. We have seen them outmaneuver some teams. So I want to see that put to practice on LAN. I want to see if that's still going to translate here. There's not going to be SK at Northern Arena. There's not going to be a Team Liquid at Northern Arena. So, I mean, this is a perfect example where Cloud9 comes into this as the favorite. And we're going to see, the improvements they made in the offseason. We're going to see with this automatic change. We're going to see Stewie as an in-game leader. It's going to get put to the test. And it's going to be, a little bit of a soft test to start them out. So they get a little bit of a breather where they get to actually test, some of these things that they've been relying on and see how they work.
Okay, so actually, on this topic of the Cloud9 online situation, etc., there's an article written by a guy called Wallaby Beetle, who's an Australian guy, which was on this exact topic on gamers, which is actually pretty good articles. I'd say go and read that, by the way, because it's pretty interesting, I think. So, to connect this together, one of the problems Cloud9 has is the obvious player they should want to have in that 5th position is Sean Gares. If all the other parts are decent enough, they should want Sean Gers to be the in-game leader, because they're so dry on the ground in America, thin on the ground, with proper in-game leaders, that he is still a valuable piece like that. And unfortunately, this leads us to the next topic of Echo Fox, which is Echo Fox is a fucking train wreck. Like, one of the big problems that Sean Gers has is exactly, it's funny that it's Echo Fox, because the same scenario has happened in League of Legends and CSGO now, where in League of Legends, Echo Fox has the player Froggen. And if he just wanted to go to the highest bidder, Froggen would play right now for a team that would be top 4 in one of the LCS, EU LCS, NALCS, and there would be like a contender, you know. He's still a good enough player, he's still a skilled enough player, and he's got a big name. Now, Sean Gers isn't an individual player, but he's an in-game leader that has the same merit. He should be top 3, top 4 in like an NA team, or he should be on a contender in NA. Should be in a very good team. He should be an in-game leader, and he's still a good enough in-game leader. He could do it. Now, both players, I don't know if this has ever been revealed publicly, but it should be obvious, have taken these deals with Echo Fox because they want to build something for their future. They've played a long time, and so they want, I believe, as far as I know, that they both have equity in the team. So they not only get a good salary, they not only get to build the team around them, but they've also got equity, and so essentially they've invested themselves into the business, and they're now pinned there, and they're going to bring players to them. So, okay, in the future, that an ideal scenario with that is you can build the team around you. You can bring in better players, and you can wait for you can show off whatever you want to show off in your team, and then you hope other free agents see that, and then you get that guy in, and gradually, sure, it's a work in progress compared to joining an already established team, but you're thinking in a year from now I might have a really good team. It's the long game, okay? You're not trying to play for the short term. The problem is, in both scenarios, in League of Legends, they had one of the worst teams in the league, and in CSGO, same things happened. So in CSGO, the part that's crazy is, in CSGO, the names all look good on paper, but no one in this team is doing a good job right now. No one.
My issue with Echo Fox is he basically rebuilt Cloud9, except a worse Cloud9, which is crazy to think about, because when he left Cloud9, he said he didn't like that team structure, didn't like that environment, didn't want to be part of it.
Yeah, it doesn't have nothing though. Doesn't have nothing. Yeah. So it seems to fix that problem. So.
It was the whole thing where it's like, Cloud9, everyone is just like, poor Sean. He has to do all this work. He's the only brain on this team. He's literally controlling everyone. He's the puppet master. Goes to Echo Fox, builds a team where he has to become the puppet master again. So it's just like you can't even feel bad for him at this point.
Okay, with that said, I will add this caveat though. It's a shit team when you look at it now. It's still better. Those moves were still upgrades over the players they had before.
Yeah, but
they had a super shit team before. That's the problem, okay? So again, in terms of the long term, maybe it works out. Maybe he keeps upgrading, maybe. But as you said here, the problem right now is none of these players are functional. Like, there's Sean Gers, so already we know you're not going to get a lot of fragging there. Then he's got Freakazoid in, Freakazoid's been off for a long time. I mean, I don't know really what he's doing in the team. Who else is there? Rick's obviously, I've never rated him as a player anyway. I never understood the hype there. Roka is terrible on LAN. Like, I actually, myself, probably overhyped Roka in as much as I looked at what he was capable of, and I thought it was because he hadn't had enough chances. Whereas now that I'm seeing him get more chances, he's not making the most of them. He looks terrible on LAN, and he doesn't look like he even fulfills his role. And then Shazam is like... Here's the problem with Shazam. I actually think, I'll say it outright. To me, Shazam is a limiting factor on any team he's on. Because for him to play at his best, I think he has to kind of do whatever he wants as an AWPer. And to do so, he will get his numbers. But I don't think he's a really good impact AWPer. And I think the way he plays is a little bit selfish. And so unfortunately, you have to let him play his way to open him up. But then I don't think he necessarily opens up the team itself. So I have an issue with him in that sense. So when I look at the team, I think the whole thing's a train wreck, mate. I don't see how it turns itself around. So obviously, the big shock, the big offline result that was terrible, I'll just reference it here, let me find it, was when they played at this ESEA Global Challenge tournament. And for anyone who doesn't know, this was a small tournament offline in Poland where the teams competing there were ENCE without Alu, Alternate Attacks, which is like Crisby, who's an old school player, and then a bunch of people you've never heard from in Germany, Panda Gaming, which is some dog shit NA Premier team, Echo Fox, which were an NA Premier team at the time, Crowns, who is like EU Premier 3rd to 4th, and is a bunch of players, you've never heard of any of them, Mortal Kombat, actually you have heard of. They used to be called eFrag, and they used to be GG Play, and they had GG, what they called GG Play?
Yeah, something like that.
G-Play. And they were actually a pretty decent team, as in they had some upsets online, and then on LAN they actually had a decent result at Star Series 13, I think it was. Then there's Chiefs, who are the third best Australian team, and there was Generation X, which is basically Steel, the guy who used to be on Luminosity, Parva, who used to be on MIBR like 13 years ago or something, and then a bunch of people you've never heard of. So you look at this lineup, right, and if Echo Fox is even half decent, they win this line at a canter. It's easy. Instead, they finished top 4. Now, in the group stage, they lost to Attacks on Cash. Then in the playoffs, they played Crowns, you know, like what, 5th best Swedish team, players you've never heard of, lost straight up 2-0, got 15 rounds over the series, and a guy called Jay-Z Walking Z, enough said, goes plus 40, 116 ADR, gets 58 kills over 2 maps. Thoughts?
That's not even the most surprising stat. It's the fact that Sean has 80.8 ADR and the next best on his team has 65.
Yeah.
That's the most incredible stat to me, is that Sean, I mean, that's insane. That can never, ever happen. That's a nightmare. What's especially makes it a nightmare as well is because they were actually doing pretty good in Pro League online. Like their standings, I'm gonna try and pull them up really quick here. They were, I think they went something like 6-0. Yeah, they're 6-0 right now. They're in 3rd place. So I think they have 2 wins over Liquid when Liquid came out looking slow at the start of the season. But yeah, I mean, the thing. This is why I would have liked to see Tarek come to this team, but we can come back to that. I think the big thing is, one, with your point about Shazam, you can tell that maybe Sean learned his lesson when Shazam was in Cloud9 and just saw some of the decision making and just didn't like it. He has a pretty tight leash on Shazam because the way Shazam ops is almost like a little bit more of a supportive, where his impact isn't getting the 3 frags to take over a bomb site or the 2 kills to open up a bomb site. It's preventing the opponents from getting 3 kills. He's the one, while the AKs walk up long A across the wall, he just sits very far back, you know, gets his 1 kill. Someone tries to flash peek through the smoke to cross. And then he plays for the bomb afterwards. It's a very like reserve style. So I'm assuming Sean has him on a pretty tight leash, just from what I've seen across all the maps. Roka, yeah, I think that's the big issue is his. And this is what, I mean, to circle back to Elude, a guy that I played with. That's the big thing where, he's the guy who's getting you 26, 27 frags online, but then you go to LAN and he's getting you like 15, and all of a sudden you're just thinking, this strat's not working. Where are these 13 frags that we're used to getting? Where are they going?
And if you look at his style of play, just to add this note in,
yeah,
that style of play is only acceptable if you are really good and you're getting lots of kills. Like, if you want to have the green light and do whatever the fuck you want and do crazy shit that's not within like the tactics, then you have to get the kills. You can't then do that and then fail to get. That's like the net negative is massive when you do that.
Yeah, and even and Rick's had a bad series, especially against.
He's had a
Crown.
bad life, mate. Hasn't worked out for him.
Just nothing's going well. But this
maybe
in the
next one when he's a cat. Okay, keep going.
This is why I would have liked to see Tarek, because I don't mind Freakazoid being on this team with Sean. I know those two work together well. I know, whatever that else is all about. I would have liked Tarek to just bet on this team, because to me, and actually, I almost made a video about this, and I actually held myself back. I tempered myself because I realized that this might have been a little bit harsh of a thought. But
come on, pussy! Right? You got in that case. Here's a rule. Here's a rule. From now on, anytime you ever have anything like that, you have to use it on this podcast. Okay? This is the real uncut raw product from fucking Brooklyn, New York.
This is when I pull out the balls and I just go
right, ham. Come on then.
But my initial thought when I heard that Tarek had an offer from OpTic and he had an offer from Echo Fox, to myself, I just said, this is where I find out if Tarek wants to be a brand or he wants to be a star player. This is where you find out if he wants to go, to the cushy house with the pool and have all the fans and build up the stream, or if you want to go work under Sean and work with the team that actually, has some of the tools to become,
Plus, obviously, Sean has worked with Shroud before, so just playing back into that. Keep going.
Right back into Face-Off sequel.
I know.
No, but that's the thing, and that's why it was. I held back because I was just so disappointed that he chose the brand. Like, why wouldn't you go? You've been in CLG for this long. CLG has never had a strong end game leader. It never had any real experience structure to it. That was like 5 friends kind of learning as they went along, which is fine. You guys made it work as long as you could. Probably let it last a little bit longer than it should have. But you go under Sean, who's, everyone in my mind should want to play for in North America. That should be your goal, is to play for a guy who knows how to play the game.
See, you know what? The sick thing is, like, okay, do you have an end to that point? Sorry, did I cut you off? Okay. So here's the sick thing. I've just realised what I really, really want to happen. Like I'm so desperate for this to happen. Moses, like, you know, the whole thing about Cloud CLG is the one thing you can say for them is they were friends. Actually, they did come up from Premier together as a unit. They even got, people don't know this, JDM was in the lineup before when they were in Premier, and then they did get him back instead of Peter. And then they got together, and eventually, guess what? Yeah, they did make it, actually, to, like, a solid finish. I mean, admittedly, FNS got lost along the way, but no one really noticed because he didn't do shit. Eventually, they got to a position where they were a pretty solid team in the world. And that is a cool storyline for the friendship thing. Yeah. You do realise, just because of how long life lasts, you know eventually someone, like in the movie version or whatever, someone would get strung out on drugs or be really bitter against, like, one of the other players. Like, say JDM gets really successful and then, like, you know, FNS or something does really badly. Eventually, just for the sake of satisfying me, I hope one of them eventually just comes out like, man, that whole friendship thing, that was all crack as shit. Fuck JDM. Just like, I would just love it so much.
Fuck JDM. Fuck Lounging. Fuck Loud Nation. I'm out.
And if they were just like, listen, I never liked him. I just used to say, listen, Easter Island, Rockhead, just shoot a couple of more op shots and shut the fuck up.
I hope it's like...
I would love that so much. If inside, like, Cutler's head, he was just thinking evil shit like that the whole time. Go on, eyebrows. Go on, unibrow. Run in there. Get your head banged off with the stoner guy. And then we'll wait for fucking Easter Island head here to op the last two guys, shall we? While I, Homer Simpson... Anyway, bring it back.
I hope it's... Well, I mean, I wasn't going to bring it back anywhere useful. I hope it's Hayes who's like he's just such like this like happy-go-lucky guy. I hope he's the one who's just like strung out. And he's so strung out that like he just makes up his own reality, like changes history.
Okay, he just starts living a simulation in his own mind. Okay,
yeah, it's just things that never happened. He's like, this motherfucker stole my sandwich. Whatever it might be, whatever. Hayes would be the best strung out character in a movie ever.
So basically, at the end of the movie, our actual reality of what happened to CLG, the ups, the downs, is just like Hayes literally coming out of like a drug haze, like, oh, it's just drugs. Oh, it's just drugs. And he settles for, and as he goes to settle back down, obviously Mixwell's lying next to him. He's like, hello, Hayes. He's like, Tarek, what are you doing here? Anyway, that's the spoiler, like, surprise twist ending at the end there. So, okay, let me think. So, okay, there's a LAN coming up called Northern Arena, and see the way I said that in an epic manner.
Yeah, it was good.
And then actually, let me have a look. Actually, DreamHack Bucharest is next month as well. But anyway, we'll have another episode before that. So Northern Arena starts tomorrow on the 1st of September, and it has, let's see how many teams.
16
teams. And I'll just run through some of them. It's basically all the NA teams. It has CLG, Cloud9, Complexity, Echo Fox, Immortals, obviously not an NA team, but Immortals, Luminosity Gaming, remember that's obviously not SK Gaming, that's the NAC, Destiny, Bith, those guys. NRG, a lineup that's had their issues. OpTic, and actually, as we said, they're using the original lineup for that, not Tarek. There's Rogue, who is a team which is actually Cadian, Maniac, Tensky, Glace, and a guy called HS, who I don't know. But okay, Danish players in Maniac, which is a bit weird. There's Splice, who, remember, have that weird lineup where they've got an Asilion, the former SK player, and Crucial, who's a guy from Netherlands. Then TSM has their new team as Relics.
As well. He won't be at this event.
Oh, yeah, Machine Gun isn't in the lineup at the moment. Yeah, so then they have, they have a guy called Buzzer instead. And then Team Solo Mid is there with Relics as their new player because obviously Automatic went to C9. Selfless Gaming is there with a lineup where they have like that guy who's apparently like, so, what's that comment someone made? Like, oh, I've got my COD players, I got my cheater, like about that Freeze guy. Like, I can't remember who said that. Yeah, that was funny as fuck. I can't lie, that was hilarious. Then there's Heroic, which is the XSK lineup, which isn't really. It's basically Freeze Moddy, but it's Glaive, who you might remember stood in for Astralis, but used to play a long time in the past with the guys from Western Wolves, etc. And then they have Valde, who actually has turned out to be a pretty solid player offline. He's like a rising talent in the Danish scene. And they have Snappy, who's actually like played in the latter days of 1.6 and is like just a very average player. He's not a particularly good player. Then there's Winter Fox, which is basically like a weird mix of players who used to be on like Chiefs and Immunity. And then there's Ace Gaming, who's an all-Canadian team, I don't know. And there's Synthetic, who's an all-Canadian team. And we've got 4 group stages of 4, and then it goes into what looks like a playoff of, I assume, best of 3 all the way. Is it best of 5 final?
I have no idea, to be honest with you. I don't think so. I believe it's just a best of 3.
Okay. Right, so first question, because we didn't address this actually. So TSM lost OpTic, and they picked up Relics, and Relics obviously used to be on Selfless before then. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. So here's a weird question for you. How does TSM lose OpTic? Like, does that mean TSM let OpTic go? Because they're equivalent brands. They both have a lot of... to my knowledge, TSM pays more salary in CSGO than Cloud9 does. That's what I heard behind the scenes. So why did... If they wanted OpTic, why did they let him go? That's just to me that they almost like... It was a mutual thing. They were willing to let him go. Did they just let him go because he says, I want to go to Cloud9? He thinks they're bigger... Because to me, their brands are the same as well, you know. I mean, admittedly, Team Solomid, the org, like... tweets about the fucking CSGO team like 2 times a year or something. So actually, it's a dogshit brand where even Echo Fox can beat you in an online vote. And Luminosity, with everyone in all of Poland who hasn't been affected by Zika fucking voting for you. But anyway, so that's what it's going to be like on this show, Moses. Buckle in. So Moses didn't say any of that, by the way. Don't kill him. So what do you think on the OpTic leaving TSM and them getting Relics?
Yeah, I assume that had to have been some kind of thing where OpTic went to TSM and was like, I really want to make this move. I would rather play for Cloud9 than play for this team. Join up with Stewie. I don't know how all that went down, but I imagine it would have to be, if it was just Cloud9 coming in and say, we want to buy this guy, I imagine TSM would fight to a certain degree for it. It definitely, it had to have been OpTic saying, I want out, I want to go. Because they don't seem like, I mean, you just kind of nailed it. That org doesn't seem like they really give a shit enough about Counter-Strike to really fight to keep the players. You know, they don't really pump any attention into it, so it's not like they have any crazy branding around any of their players, much less OpTic. So yeah, it had to have just been a pretty standard buyout. Okay. It was easy. It was like over in a week.
What do you actually think of taking out OpTic, putting in Relics? What is that move like?
I think they have. It's gonna be weird because I think Relics does much better in an aggressive role, like what we saw from him at E League when he went in with Selfless and he had that baller week with them at E League, where he was like the only player on that team essentially in the server. Like he was like leading the stats for that whole week with some of the teams that were there, which was crazy. But that's when like he knew he had to be the badass, right? Like he had to just be aggressive. He had to try and be the whole team. And I think, especially because I just spent a week or 2 in LA with Ryu, the owner of Selfless, talking about some of that. He said that they tried to get Relics to play that aggressive more often, and Relics just naturally wanted to go into a passive role. So I mean, I know when I talked to Relics when he came to me and talked about. What's up?
Isn't that like the classic NA move as well? That's another thing, by the way, about NA. Half the players are playing like the wrong role for themselves in their team, you know. Like, imagine in basketball if some like fucking short guy who's really good at ball handling, plays wicked defense and is a great passer, was like, I'm going to be the power forward. So, well, no, you're the point guard. No, I'm the power forward. Like, brilliant, great.
Well, there's good news and there's bad news here. The good news is that he's going to a TSM team that has Twist and has Sick, who are 2 of like the younger stars in North America that have shown very, very good results against European teams for their level of experience.
Okay.
One line. And they're probably going to be the more aggressive ones. So the good news is that naturally he gets placed into a more passive role, more than likely.
Okay.
The bad news is that he's not as good of a player when he's in that passive role. So
I mean, he's not a clutch round player, right?
I mean, I don't.
Like, I have problems. I have problems with anyone lurking. This is the same issue I have with the NAF thing. Is I have big issues with you being a lurker if you don't win clutch rounds. What's the fucking point? You have to be really good at decision making and good in clutches to be the lurker. Unless you just like the lurker as in you cut off rotations on certain maps. That's one thing. But if you're like that pure lurker that a lot of these guys think they are, you better be sick at that. So the thing is, Relics, okay. I didn't see tons of him. I saw him at like Gfinity, where admittedly the whole team was dog shit, so I can't really count that as like a total judgment on him. But A-League, he was pretty solid. A bunch of the NA lands he was pretty good on. Thing about him though is he's a guy for me where he's a good fragger. Now what I mean by that is he's just going to get kills. So he's going to die as well. He's not going to like win clutch rounds. He's not going to like dominate the stats in that sense. He's not going to have a great plus minus, but he's going to put up frags. So that's good. Like brings firepower certainly. Aside from that, I don't really know much about him. I know he has like an Asian girlfriend, so like +2 for that or something, but that's about it. I mean, I don't get much more out of it than that, right? So
I think he's Asian himself. So do you really get points for having an Asian girlfriend as an Asian? Is that how it
yeah,
works?
I wasn't thinking about fucking him. So anyway, so keeping it going, keeping it on track. It's going to be like this the whole time, Moses. This is what this show's going to be
Oh,
like.
I can't wait.
So we'll get sponsors eventually. Don't worry, mate. So not probably from Brazil or the Asian community, if I'm being honest. But it's a lot of money out there. A lot of money out there. So yeah, what else did you have to say about TSM? Does TSM get worse?
No, I think the big thing with TSM for me is one, I just want to keep watching the development of Sick and Twist, but also it's how much left in the tank does someone like Sempus and FNS have? Because that's where I think their big anchors are. Not that they're playing badly or they're pulling the team down, but those are going to be the issues moving forward, right? Is how much longer are you going to get by with FNS, who admittedly is playing much better in TSM on a more consistent basis than he ever did in CLG.
Yeah.
Sempus has reinvented himself as an opper. He's not the carry opper. He's not the flashy opper, but he's an effective opper with the style that he brings in. So how much longer does that go on? I think they get better, to be honest with you. I think they do get better. It'll just be interesting to see once again. Can you really make that judgment call? I think they've only played 2 matches with Relic. So, I mean, this LAN, I think, is going to tell us if they got better or worse.
Okay, let me think. Because I actually have a lot of issues with TSM. Well, my big problem is, it's not that I think they get worse from this move. I think it's fine, actually. I think it's pretty much a wash. My big issue here is that, essentially, like I've suggested about the one LAN thing, I still wasn't sold that like that was a legit level for them. I wanted to see them at more LANs before I can really like buy into the idea that they're going to be that good. So I still think TSM hadn't played enough LANs for us to really know where they're at day to day.
Here's the other red flag about TSM. If they think they're going to go into this LAN to be playing Cobble, they're more than likely wrong. Like if teams aren't banning Cobble against them at this point, and that's the next big test is have they deepened their map pool in any way during.
Well,
this
that's
time
also
off.
a key issue. Okay, so here's what happened. Okay, I'll give you a more higher level example of what happened. So if you remember earlier in the year, Dignitas turned out to be really good on Cobble when they had that lineup where Kirby was the best player. So what happened was once they showed people enough, like we are really good on this map, everyone was like, cool, we banned Cobble. So now you have to play your second and third best map. And if they're regretting you on your second map, you've lost already. But you have a chance to get the series to 3 maps if you have your second best map at least. Okay, you pick that, cool, got your second best map. But then the third map, probably not going to be something you're super sick on. So you can already see mentally how without that Cobble, it's going to be hard to win any of these series that you might have had a chance to before. Now that is what would have happened to TSM anyway if they kept the old lineup. It's the reason why you can never look at those young upset teams and compare them directly to the best teams in the world. Because the difference is when you do play against SK Gaming, no one's letting Mirage through. When you play against Na'Vi, people are going to ban Overpass. So the maps that they actually look like they're the best on are usually their second best map because that's all they're getting to play in half these scenarios. They're just that good that their map pool's super deep. So unfortunately, teams like, in this scenario, TSM, haven't shown us more of a map pool yet enough to show they're actually legit. Sure, they're legit. If bans didn't exist, they'd be legit. Unfortunately, bans do exist, and in this world, teams will adapt to you just on that level. Forget, by the way, looking at the demos. Like, for example, teams that you could have upset before on Cobblestone because they didn't know what you play like, will then look at your demo and go, well, you know what, I'm pretty good on Cobblestone. I've watched your demo enough. I reckon I can neutralize that. And now you might not even win Cobblestone even if you got to pick it, you know. So it's not as simple as kind of like extrapolating like a good early performance and going, right, well, what would happen at the next level? Because as you saw with that Dignitas team, that was one of the reasons they got kind of eliminated eventually. The only teams that would play them on Cobble were the other good teams on Cobble, and then they just started losing all the Cobble games as well.
Yeah. I mean, it is actually crazy to think about SK, how deep their map pool is. And
they never play Mirage, right? That's crazy.
I know, it's fucking nuts. I think that's also just a handicap for most teams in North America because the deep map pool is a big issue, especially all these new roster changes now coming in, but especially TSM, where yes, they got top 4 at ECS. Yes, they had a good result, but like the majority of those matches, even their close losses against Fnatic and SK, the 16-14s, were on Cobble. So no one is going to play this team on Cobble, and if they do, they're idiots. I mean, why even risk it? Why even risk Cobble against these guys?
So here's the interesting thing, okay? Let's start out for the Northern Arena with like the favourites, okay? So here's the thing. On paper, if they hadn't have made that roster move, the obvious favourite should have been Immortals, because they're a team that's actually won fucking real lands with big teams at them. They've beaten world-class teams, NIP, Virtus Pro in big series. They've had this progression of big placings. They would have been the on-paper obvious favourite. With the Zeus change, what do you think? Who's the clear favourite of this tournament? Is there one for you?
As crazy as it might sound, I would say it's Heroic after that Power LAN win.
The problem there, though, is, again, it was against mainly all their countrymen, so there's like the domestic aspect. I agree, they looked in very good form at that LAN, so they've got it. I think they're certainly like a dark horse for this tournament.
The top three teams I would say that need to be in this event are Immortals, Cloud9, and Heroic. I would say those are the big three teams to me. I think Cloud9 has got to be the favorite just based off their form coming into this. I know you're probably not as hyped and you probably don't agree with that, but I think for Cloud9, for the level they've played at online, if they come into this and shit the bed, that's bad news. That's not good. So I think they have to be favorites. If they don't win this, I think that's a big problem for that team.
Okay, so here's the thing. Well, I mean, I don't know if they have to win it, but I think they probably have to make the final, okay? I'd say that. I think they have to make the final of a LAN like this. Worst case scenario, top four. If they don't finish top four, it's a nightmare. The whole thing went to shit. There's no excuse. I mean, obviously, I say that, but obviously you could have some scenario where like Heroic finishes second in their group and then play them in the first round. Sure, but even so, you have to finish top four for Cloud9, if not go to the final and win. So here's the thing. Let's go group by group. Group A is Immortals, NRG, CLG, and Synthetic. Right? I'm assuming we're just throwing Synthetic out. We don't know anything about them. They're just random Canadians. They're going to finish last. Does Immortals make it out the group?
Yeah, they get out first. And then NRG
Who gets
will
out
get out
second?
second.
Why NRG though?
I mean, I don't have any faith in CLG. Think about that squad right now. Hayes is a new in-game leader for the first time ever. Cutler is now opping. Kusta.
Those pickups were super underwhelming, by the way, mate.
Yes, Sub Rosa and Ethan.
Nate or some shit.
Yeah. Call him Ethan. Nati is just like
no. If he wants to be a fuck, if you want to be a fuck boy, someone's gonna fuck with you, boy. So keep going. Or your girlfriend if you're Alex. So keep going.
And CLG also just didn't look good in their first few matches. And NRG has got B. I think they have Tapson, who in terms of individual skill just trumps anyone on CLG. I think Peter as well with the op. So I have Immortals and NRG in that group coming out.
Okay. Yeah, I think Immortals should clearly win this one. NRG, here's the thing. I don't know why people were ever hyped about NRG. I mean, I realised they had that one result where they upset the first ever Devil-infused Envious lineup at that counterpit dogshit line I went to. But I don't think NRG's a good team. I think they'd be very underwhelming. For me, they're never going to be a top 4 team in NA. But whatever. They've got some okay players. So yeah, they should get out second. That group's shit. Don't care about that one. Group B is obviously the sexy one. It's the one that has OpTic, TSM, Echo Fox, Luminosity. I actually think this one's crazy. This could really go a million different ways. So who do you have getting out?
TSM and OpTic. And I will tell you, I was going to go for Echo Fox doing an upset until I saw him at that Global Challenge LAN. And then I was just like, nope, fuck that.
Okay.
I don't understand. I don't know, and you might be able to explain this, and you might be the wrong person to ask about this.
Okay.
But why is there so much hype from the Brazilians about Luminosity? Every time I don't predict them to get out of a group, or every time I don't predict them to get a win, every time I say I haven't really even seen this team, I just get yelled at. This team hasn't done anything that I know.
I mean, it's just blind nationalism, isn't it? That's obviously the real answer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll add in as a secondary factor. This shouldn't have any effect whatsoever, but I'll add this in just as a point. Nak and Bit, who were in the team, were in some very good Brazilian teams 10 years ago. I'll add that part. I mean, they're also in some good, decent Brazilian teams, 9 years ago, 7 years ago, but not relevant. That's my point. A different game and a decade ago. So they at least have some known players. But with that said, for me, it's a mixture of blind nationalism and then this really, I think, misguided logic that since SK became amazing and kept getting better and better, and Immortals got better and better and became very good, now another Brazilian team logically will get better and better and become really good. Now, that doesn't follow to me because as I've already made the case a number of times now over the last few months, SK and Immortals don't even share the same playing style in any context. They're actually both really good in very different ways. That's what I think is very exciting about them. The maps are different they're good on. The style of play is really almost completely the opposite. The strength of the players is very different in terms of where it's divided up and who the best players are, etc. So to me, they're totally different teams. So as a result, I don't think there is this obvious lineage where next in line is Luminosity or the other Brazilian team who I forget the name of, where people are they're obviously going to come up and
C3X.
become the next best. No, I don't think that's the case whatsoever. This team has to prove it on their own merits. And at the moment, I haven't seen anything in the online games, admittedly there haven't been many, to say that they will. And so, yeah, I don't have a lot of faith. Luminosity is the one team I don't have faith in. Like, maybe they could get a map here, and that could be something crazy, but...
They did trade like BO3 series of Echo Fox online. So, I mean, and with the Echo Fox we saw last weekend in Poland, I'm fine with someone saying that Luminosity is going to beat them. I don't think they'll be able to get out of the group. I don't think they're going to beat a TSM or an OpTic.
Okay.
I think I had OpTic getting out first in that group.
I think OpTic's going to get out first. For me, OpTic's the best team here. TSM, the only banana peel I see for them is that Echo Fox TSM will be fun in as much as it's Semphis against Sean Gares. So there's obviously a lot of history with some of the players there. They know each other's styles. In fact, a bunch of these players have played a lot of games over the last few years. In fact, obviously, Automatic and Semphis used to play together, literally in TSM and in Neelam. So there's a lot of cross-pollination here. So that could be a very much like an upset for one team or the other. So maybe Echo Fox can get that. But I think, probably Team Solo mid-second still. So let's go to Group C. Now, this is where C9 has locked out like motherfuckers because they have got a terrible group. Like, here's the thing. Rogue has some okay players. Like, Tensky was the worst player in Dignitas, but he's like a role player. Cadian is actually underrated. And the reason why I say he's underrated, he's not like a Scott player. His problem is here's what's funny, okay? This isn't going to make sense to anyone, Moses, because most fans, remember, always come around like 6 to 9 months before today, right? They always think that in your mind. The average fan came around 6 to 9 months ago. So anything that's not in that window, they won't get. So they're all going to think of this comment, I say now, that Cadian is the European Shazam. And what I mean by that is, first of all, he's an AWPer who's not bad as an AWPer. He's just not a sick, dominant AWPer, so he's never going to be like your first choice as an AWPer. So that's going to keep you out of top teams. Then secondly, he just has a sentiment among pro players where most pro players don't like him or don't want to play with him. Which, by the way, this is where they won't understand it, used to always be the case for Shazam. Shazam, if Shazam had a Kanye West style accident and got his mouth wired shut for the last 2 years, he would be in a way better team than he is right now. Like, that's the big problem that guy's had. Okay, so you like that? You like that analogy? Okay, so okay, so okay. If he was living them dreams, so okay. So my point there is, Cadian, pretty decent player actually. If you don't forget his personality, decent enough player. Glace, I don't really know much about him. Seems average. Maniac was actually not a terrible player at the end of Titan, but that was a long time ago, so I can't really give him credit for being a good player. I don't know the HS guy, so I have to assume Rogue aren't even that good. And then you add in Complexity. I don't think that team's good at all, mate. Like, I mean, what are your thoughts on Complexity?
I think they put all their eggs in the British basket, and that failed. I don't think that's paid off. I haven't seen anything really that special out of him quite yet. They did it at Uber. I think was an okay role player on Enemy. Although I mean he was good for the level of competition they were at, but I don't think at a professional level he hasn't shown anything crazy in terms of being able to beat the top competition.
Okay, so Cloud9's group, they should obviously get out first.
Yeah, and I have Rogue getting out second.
Okay. I mean, Rogue Cole might be an interesting battle.
Yeah, could be.
Okay.
I think Ace as well. Ace against Cole could be interesting, and that's one of the rare times where I don't even know what lineup Ace is bringing to it. It's essentially going to be a pug, but I know like those Ace guys have been playing like all the Canadian lands together for the past however long it is. So they've all been in that same like region, that same scene. So that could be something dangerous if they have a good day and Complexity has a bad day, but I doubt it.
Okay. And last group is Group D, which is Heroic, Selfless, Splice, and Winter Fox. Oh, actually, Group D's not bad. Group D's a little bit spicy. How the fuck did Group C happen if Group D and Group B exist? Who drew these? Did ESL have an online vote as to who should be in these groups? What the fuck's going on here?
It's pretty epic, isn't it?
Okay, Group B's good. Okay.
Yeah, so Group B's sick.
Who gets out of Group B?
Group D, you mean?
D, yeah.
Yeah. Heroic is first, I have, and I actually have Winter Fox getting out second. Yeah, the Oceanic team. Don't call them Australian. They have New Zealanders in them. They get angry. I got yelled at.
Yeah, you're right.
Part of it is I would almost like to pick Splice. And I am excited to see some of the new players. I know Henry's really big on Crucial. I mean, he told me specifically to watch him play. Very exciting style, I guess.
Okay.
But they don't have Machine Gun at this event. I think that's the big thing. Machine Gun arrives after Northern Arena. I think he gets in next week.
Right.
So,
okay.
I mean, once again, this is a team that just had this massive roster overhaul, and they still haven't played a single game with their actual roster. And I mean, we saw We saw him in Katowice. Obviously didn't have a good tournament whatsoever. That level of talent was above him and his team. But at Taipei, against like the tier 2, 3 competition, he was a fucking monster. So this is the kind of tournament I think for the most part he would have eaten up as an individual.
Yeah, this is a hard one for me because here's the thing. Like I say, because Heroic only showed us it at that offline LAN, and it's like a fairly new lineup. I admit their lineup is like pretty solid when you look at the players there. It's like a good mix of vets and like new players. I think they should come out first, but I also think this group helps them. Like I think if they'd had more established teams there, they might have had some issues there, but they shouldn't have any problems with these teams overall. Like they should come out first, but the second place one's really hard for me. Like I'm not convinced by any of these guys. Like sure, the Winter Fox players, maybe they can be good, but I don't know. Splice, they don't have machine gun, you're right. Selfless, it's just randoms that I don't even know because I don't follow like low-level NA. Low-level NA. I don't follow the low-level NA stuff, Moses. So, but I know you probably need a fucking microscope to see like the gap between all these teams. But anyway,
that selfless lineup might be like the 5 most inexperienced players I've ever seen in a professional roster.
Okay,
it's crazy.
So I think the second place for that one's really hard. What I love, by the way, is that we used to always say like. There's, all those like when there was complexity in iBuy Power, they always used to complain, there's no talent in NA. Now you'd be like, that's really unfair. You've got to really give them a chance, And then now, like half of fucking ESEA Premier has like a full-time salary on all the top teams in NA. And you know what? I take it all back, Dazed, Semis, Shoget, you were right. There is no talent in NA, mate. Like, there is talent, but it's all now so overinflated with salaries. You can't buy any of the actual talent to your teams. They're all stuck on like 7 different teams. Like, I have another ESEA Premier player with me. Mad, isn't it?
It actually is. It is unreal.
It's mad.
It is unreal how it's all turned out, isn't it?
It's the darkest timeline, mate. It's the darkest. I mean, the best time. I mean, the best example of this is the fact that it's like time. It's like a singularity must be happening because time is speeding up. So these processes are taking even less time. So Senfis went from saying like even the 4th best NA team is shit to playing with all the people from Premier in like the next season or whatever. Like in Neolum and now in TSM. Well, it goes even worse than that. Now. Like fucking Ryu does a video like this guy's an obvious cheater. And now he's like, welcome to my team. Like 3 months later, like that's like the team's sped up. Like fuck.
It's so good.
I mean, what next? Like Shazam forms his own org with like fucking Mitch or whatever that guy was called. The one he implied was online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and something about Karma will be in there. Something about Karma coming back to you.
You got to nail it. Amazing. Who is going to win this LAN?
Oh fuck! Do I go for it?
You want to say Cloud9?
I will just say it. I'll give it to Cloud9.
Okay. You know what?
I'll C9.
You know what, Moses? I respect quality players from Brazil, so I'm going to say Immortals. I'm going to stick with Immortals for that.
Okay. All right. I like that.
I admit I'm very unconvinced by that, like Zeus Moon, but I think the difference is Immortals has so much quality in that lineup that I think they can definitely win this tournament.
If there was ever a time to make that change, it's when the coaching thing gets passed out, right? That's pretty incredible.
But no, that's the weird thing about this LAN is that you have a bunch of teams, like basically for Immortals, OpTic, TSM, and Cloud9. If they don't all make the final or finish top 4, they're all in trouble. Every one of those teams is like basically because there's no really good teams here. It's like you can only lose by not winning the LAN. Basically, that's how fucked up it is. Meanwhile, for NRG, CLG, Echo Fox, fucking Complexity, Selfless, Winter Fox, this is just an opportunity for them teams. If they can do anything here, it's good for them.
Well, I think we need to do some final thoughts. I got to get going to my rehearsal.
So I didn't have. That's it, mate. That's the end of the show.
That's it. Okay,
Right, we don't have sponsors, so fuck everyone.